So we're hitting the tail end of this training, and I think at this point you've probably gotten to a point where you have a fairly good understanding of Google, how it ranks, what it's looking for, and how we apply this knowledge to actually going out and building links, and where we build links, and how we actually structure our link portfolio in a way that's going to put us in the best scenario for rank in the safest manner with Google over the long term. So we talked about building out these tiers of links, and we talked about these structures. We talked about where and how to use keywords and where and how to use anchor text. And I think most people take away from this and saying, "Oh my gosh, this is really difficult." But the reality is that there's tools to automate a lot of these types of things, and I've touched on some of them, and I'm going to talk about some of them in a minute here as well. But remember, all of this can be done. When I did this in the beginning, when we did this as a group in the beginning, we did all of this by hand. We developed tools to actually automate this process after doing it by hand. But the reality is that anybody can do this. It actually requires very little investment to do this by hand, and anybody can actually achieve the same end results without any automation at all. So I want you to feel comfortable knowing the fact that it's not necessarily a stumbling block that you have to actually go out and invest in some automation, but the reality is that automation does make some of this stuff happen faster, and it makes this quite a bit easier. But again, this can be done. You can outsource to services like Fiverr. You can outsource to services like Odesk. You'd be surprised on places where you can find some people that'll do some of this automation work for you. But using tools tends to make it the easiest way. So I'm going to talk about a few of those tools now. So the next tool I want to talk about here is Backlink Beast. And the beauty of Backlink Beast is it's one of those key automation tools that helps you build out both your tiered linking automation and your tier 3 linking automation. So it builds out both the account creation process and the actual submission and linking process that happens across all 3 tiers if you want it to, and effectively builds out the entire 3rd tier if you want it to. So I'll just show you a few quick examples. What it does is it'll allow you to submit to social networks, bookmarks, PDF sharing sites, Web 2.0 sites, and wiki sites. And it's a pretty simple process. It automates almost all of it for you. You can see here there's an account creation job that goes through. It sets up the emails, it approves the accounts, and it actually builds them for you to handle the submissions. If you've ever done this by hand for things like social bookmarks, you know it's really painful to go through and actually build out an entire set of social bookmark accounts all by yourself. So we'll set up, just as a demo here, you can see for social networks we have 40 different social networks as part of this submission. There is 700 social bookmark sites, 13 PDF sharing sites, 580 Web 2.0 sites, and 254 wiki sites. Now you can go through and have it create accounts for every single one of these, and that entire process is automated. And the beauty of that is actually that the automation for it is so simple. You can see you can actually rank them by PR, so you can go through and see the different page rank of all these different sites that we submit to right now. All of this is totally automated, so if I hit start right here, it would actually start creating accounts for me with all of these if I wanted it to. Now once I have accounts, it's as simple as just going through, doing a submission, and let's just say I go to a PDF sharing site. I open this up. I can see where it's going to submit everything to. Here's all the different sites that I could submit to. I can actually submit same way that I've done through most article spinners. So I can put an article title in, and I can spin it with spin tags. It accepts spin tags for a number of different formats. I can use tags, and I can do the body of the article. So I can build this entire article, or I can import this article from previously spun content. And then I can actually get an output of all the URLs that it generates for me. So when I get that, I build a URL list and I add it, and then I submit it over to sites like Link Pipeline. So basically what I'm doing here is that I could submit to all of these websites, I get the output, I get the final URLs of that submission, and that builds out my list of here's all my tier 3s, right? In the submit information section, here's where I would link to my tier 2 website as an example. So here I'm using a tier 3 to build a tier 2 link, and then I'm getting a URL to a tier 2, and then I'm going to submit that, right? Or I'm getting a URL to a tier 3, and I'm going to submit that to make sure that it gets indexed. The other aspect of this tool that I really like is that as you build up these URL lists of submissions over time, so I'll have a list of here's all the PDF sharing sites that I've submitted to. I can build up these URL lists, and I can build them into tiered linking structures where I can actually submit over time. So I can do all my PDF sharing sites are my tier 1, and I could submit them all to a tier 2 link, which could be all my social bookmarks, and then I could submit them to my tier 3 links, which could be my social networks. But what I could do is I could build out URL lists for my tier 1, URL lists for my tier 2, and URL lists for my tier 3, and I can actually automate the process of generating links for me. Now, to do this, you actually have to go through the process of building out all these accounts, but it's so automated within Backlinks Beast, it makes it really, really simplified. So the beauty of the tool like this is it does the majority of the work for you. Also, as I mentioned, it actually integrates with Link Pipeline. Now, I talked about Link Pipeline before, and the beauty of Link Pipeline is that it's so simple. All you have to do is dump a URL in and hit submit, and it will make sure that those URLs get indexed. So you can automate this through Backlink Beast just by building in the API for Link Pipeline. So instead of actually going to linkpipeline.com, you can actually just do it right through here. You can pull down URL lists of previous submissions too, and actually do the submission without even having to paste the URLs in. So I love Backlink Beast, and it's one of the tools that I've used to actually build out these networks in the past. But even if Backlink Beast feels like a little bit too much work for you, we do have the actual capabilities to build out these networks yourself. Using a site like SEO Buffer. So SEO Buffer will actually build out the entire network for you. So instead of you having to build out your tier 1 or your tier 2 or using Backlink Beast to build links at any level, you can actually use a service like SEO Buffer to build it all for you and generate this kind of portfolio like I talked about, like your 3s to 2s to 1s to build to your money site. But instead of doing it that way, it more does it like this, where you're building a ton of 3s, a ton of 2s, and a ton of 1s to really beef up all of this. And SEO Buffer is more of the custom, we'll do it all for you type of service. So just to let you know that all of these types of things exist out there, you can automate this entire process, but the gist of it is really, really simple. Looking at your architecture, looking at your links, and looking at, in theory, how do you approach SEO today with the current changes in Google, and how do you make sure you're doing it in such a way that's going to give you the best chance for success in both the short term, but both stable growth that's going to retain you a good amount of money with all the work that you put in for a very, very long time. And that type of tiered linking structure and looking at it from the standpoint of the keywords and utilizing the proper anchor text with these tools is really what we think is going to get you there for the long term. So if you actually execute on these strategies, build out those different tier 3 links, and spend the time looking at your competition and developing your keywords out, I can almost guarantee that you're going to see the same type of benefits that we showed you in the earlier videos. So best of luck to everyone, and go out there and get moving.